New World PvP arenas need something a little bit more to make them actually exciting and interesting for the majority of players. First, let's talk about the rewards. Now, this has been sort of a controversial issue in the last couple of weeks, and they have undergone quite a few changes. So first, they were initially capped at 20 victories, I think. Then it was changed to 40, but it was sort of soft capped, so your rewards were less after 40. And that actually is the way that it is now. But also, the amount for a loss was pretty bad. So they have now buffed that. You get 750 XP if you win, and if you lose, you get either 250, 350, or 500 XP, depending on how many rounds you win in that match. However, this doesn't feel like enough. Now, I actually don't think on a per activity basis it's that bad. However, if you compare it to something like Great Cleave, then it does still feel underwhelming. And in comparison to that, it's simply just not that efficient. But if you compare it to something like Outpost Rush, then I actually think that's sort of reasonably balanced. In the past, I'd said that I was previously in favour of buffing Outpost Rush and Arena rewards, and that sort of still holds true a little bit, but I am coming round to the idea that maybe Great Cleave is just a little bit too strong. So maybe Great Cleave needs to have a minor nerf. Now, I like the idea that there's people in the open world trying to cap forts, trying to do missions. I think that's like good in theory, but Great Cleave is maybe just a little too much, and it's distracting from Arena and making Arena not feel that good. So when it comes to rewards, I think they just all need to be like balanced activities, or try to artificially make it so people have to do each one with soft caps. Would be a bit of a touchy subject, but maybe that's the way we have to go. Now, the next big thing we want to talk about here is the title of the video, and I say that New World needs a solo queue. Now, I'm not a great PvPer, so I would probably be losing in the arenas no matter what, even if we did have a solo queue. But I think we can all understand that if it is effectively 3 randoms versus 3 people who are all like organized and working together, then the people who are working together and already in a group have an advantage. Even if they're not in voice chat, they just get familiar with each other, and they can pick like what builds of weapons and stuff like that they want. So what happens right now, if you do what I do, which is I just queue up as a solo player and I get matched against some pre-mades. Well, do I? Because the first thing is, you actually don't really know if you're against pre-mades or not. As far as I know, there's no in-game way of knowing. It's just you have a feeling if you are or you aren't. And if people then lose, they sort of go to the obvious explanation is, well, they have an advantage over me because I've solo queued and they've gone in as a 3. Even if they may have also solo queued, there's no real way of knowing. So people are going for the default excuse, but it's one that is probably true sometimes and probably not true other times, but you just literally don't know. But I do know, because we see it like on Twitch and we see it with people that I know. People are running it as 3s. People are doing it from companies and stuff like that. And it makes sense to do it, because if you're getting 750 XP for win, it's pretty decently consistent if you are winning. And if you're a 3-made group who's like quite good, then it makes more sense to do it. So then what should Amazon do? Well, okay, we don't actually have ranked arenas at the minute, but if we get ranked PvP arenas and the ranked PvP arenas are not split by solo queue and group queue, I'm going to be quite salty about that, as I think that will be a massive problem. And because we don't actually have a ranked PvP system, it makes the casual game all of the focus. If we had a PvP ranked system where you had to solo queue or group queue, then it would make the casual queue, where it was just whatever free-for-all, feel less bad. So what I would do in the short term, at least until we get ranked, is I would split the queue some way or another, so that solo players play against solo players and group players play against group players. Like, it's simple really, because I strongly believe it's hurting some players' enjoyment, the people who want to queue solo. Now, before you tell me this is an MMOJ, why don't you find some friends and play with some friends? Like, alright, fair enough, you make a valid point to some extent, but for me, my free time and quite frankly my desire to play is quite all over the place. I don't have a set schedule, and getting the same people to play with me at the same times would be quite difficult, I think. So for me, that's simply just not feasible. And sadly, I don't actually have many in-game friends to play with. A lot of them are like hardcore PvPers, and the company I was just in has sort of disbanded. They've changed faction, so I'm now a green on Barry looking for a new company and a new group to play with. Maybe I should just make my own company, just a group of casual players who'll be like, hey, look, we want to do everything, but we're going to do it casually and we're not going to stress. Anyway, what I'm saying is, I could live with no solo queue if we had a ranked solo queue, but without the ranked solo queue, then the casual mode just feels bad. So I want them to implement solo queue. Simple. Now, there are a couple of massive downsides to that. First, some servers, quite frankly, would not be big enough to have a player base where the queues were popping frequently. If you split people between solo and groups, then neither might end up finding a match, and that would be pretty bad. But what I would actually suggest for the casual game mode is so that the game should try and match you with people who are queued similarly to you. So if you are queued as a solo player, then the game should wait a little bit and try to find another group of solo players to put you all with. If you are grouped as a group, then the game should wait a little while and try to find another group to play you against. And if they then don't find a similar group to play you against, then you can have your solos versus your group. So that means on the quieter servers there's not really going to be any change, and on the popular servers, well, you actually might be playing against the people you should be playing against. Now this technology exists in games like World of Warcraft Classic, so come on, it's not beyond the realms of Amazon surely. I just don't think they either want to do that right now or can, because they're busy. Because the matchmaking system where it's literally just first in and then that's it, you don't against the people who are next in, is a little bit bland. So something as simple as matching your group type in a matchmaking system would be a big boon. Also, the next big solution to that problem, quite frankly, is cross-realm. I'm a big advocate for cross-realm. I can't wait for it. I think it would be massively beneficial to the game. I do think cross-realm brings its own issues like getting to know people and its community and stuff like that, but that's a different subject for another video, which I think I've probably already made, so I'm not going to talk about it again. But surely, come on, we know that cross-realm is being worked on right now. I'm a little bit surprised that cross-realm wasn't worked on before the game even came out, because did they not see that dying servers and quiet servers would be a problem? That has to be a question that I'm like, why weren't you already working on that? And if you were already working on it, is it literally taking that long to get this solved? So yeah, cross-realm would make it so that the small population servers, if you queue solo or as a group, you would find, you know, similar. Now there is another problem there about what about people who are in groups of two. For you guys, I don't have a solution. Maybe you just end up getting queued with the solos. I don't really know. Maybe you just can't. Or maybe you get queued with another group who has two in it, but you have a longer wait. You know, there's solutions out there, I think. The next big issue that I want to talk about with arenas is actually one that doesn't really affect me, but I see it in the comments, and I think for the health and the sanity of the game, it would be a good idea. And that is gear score scaling in PvP arenas. Quite simply, I believe that in the arenas the way that we have them right now, everybody's gear score should be scaled up to 625. Boom, that's it. That's literally the idea. I think it's a genius idea and I think it would work very well. Now, I am only suggesting this in the PvP arenas. I'm not suggesting it in wars and I'm not suggesting it in the open world. There, I think your advantages of your gear should have more of an impact, right? I think that makes sense. But for me, in the PvP arenas, we should be wanting fair fights, and that's why we want the solo queue, and that's why I think having your gear score scaled to 625 would be helpful. Now, I'm already gear score 625, so as I said, not really a big concern for me, but players who are just like getting into the game, maybe they just hit 60, they want to try PvP arena, their gear score 500, they get absolutely smashed. I don't think that they would win if their gear score was 625 either, because they wouldn't have the perks and all that kind of good stuff, but they wouldn't get smashed quite as badly, and that I think is important. And really, this seems relatively easy for Amazon to do, you know? I'm not a coder, I'm not a game designer, but just to like make it so everybody's gears get scaled up to 625 seems relatively simple as a concept. Now, when we actually get PvP ranked arenas, I'd actually like everybody to just have like gears equalized, so no weapon perk differences or anything like that. So it's literally just dead even. And I'd like a system where you like get a free choice, because losing your weapon perks and stuff like that would feel bad. So maybe you have like, you can pick the perks on your gear. I think like Lost Ark or something does that. Now that sounds like a system in my mind that Amazon may not be going there. They may be a little bit worried it's going to break things and they don't want to do that. So maybe for the ranked PvP arenas, they'll actually do the gear score 625, but they'll just leave your weapon perks. I would have liked to have seen gear score equalized in the standard queue, and then in ranked, literally gear equalized. But yeah, in my opinion, all of these things that I'm saying here would literally just make the PvP arenas more fun for more people. I would guess most of the people who would be against what I'm saying would be your hardcore PvPers who are gear score 625, who are playing with a group all the time and they just want to win and get their XP as easily as possible. However, if I was in that group, I would much rather win a fairer fight. I want the games to be balanced. I don't want to have like any massive advantage. I want to win on merit. That's just something I believe in, and I think the game should facilitate that a little bit more with the arenas. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like this video, subscribe to the channel. Have a most beautiful day. Goodbye.